Okay, we're going to finish 19.3. So yesterday we worked on if something is a quadratic function, it'll have x squared. Then we worked on finding the axis of symmetry. And then once you have that axis of symmetry, you can also figure out the vertex. And then changing vertex form to standard form. And then we finished yesterday by, they gave us a table of values. We had to write the equation in vertex form and then also into standard form. Okay, so we did 2 examples. The next one we are going to do together just to remind you guys, since you haven't done it since yesterday. So this is really the on your own number 5, but we're going to do this one together. Okay, the table of values are -1, 59, 111, 25, 311, and 559. The first thing you need to do is look for the vertex in the table. So look at what's repeating on the y's and find that middle value that does not repeat. That's your vertex. When we write it in vertex form, the vertex is at h, k. K is 5. Next, I need to figure out what the A value stands for. So to figure out what the A value is, I need to pick any point. Pick something besides the vertex. Let's just pick 1, 11. 1 will be x, and 11 will be y. So in that equation, you're going to put 1 in for the x value and 11 in for the y value. Okay, from here, we're going to simplify. I need to do parentheses first. 1 take away 2. 1 take away 2 is -1. Next step is to do your exponents. So -1 squared. -1 times -1. A negative times a negative is positive. 1 times 1 is 1. The A is touching it, so it's multiplying, and then we still have the +5. 1 times A, that's just A. Anything times 1 is just itself. So this really just says A plus 5 on this side. And then to get A by itself, subtract 5 from both sides. And I get A is 6. And now you're just plugging this value in right up here and rewrite the equation. So in vertex form, your final answer will be y equals, or f of x equals, the A value that we came up with is 6, and then just finish what we wrote up here, x minus 2 squared plus 5. And then we have to put this into standard form. Standard form, the first thing we do is FOIL. So do x minus 2 times x minus 2. X squared, -2x, -2x, and -2 times -2 is +4. Combine your like terms in the middle. I have x squared. If I have a negative 2x and another negative 2x, I have negative 4x. Okay, I still have 6 times all of this. Six times x squared is 6x squared. 6 times negative 4x is negative 24x. And 6 times positive 4 is positive 24. And then the last step is to bring down that plus 5. So the final answer for standard form is y equals, or f of x equals, 6x squared minus 24x, and then combine your like terms. 24 and 5 make 29. Okay, 0, comma, negative 27, negative 1, negative 12, negative 2, negative 7, negative 3, negative 12, and negative 4, negative 27. Write the equation in vertex form and then in standard form. Okay, I'm going to clean up the equation so it's not looking strange with all the double symbols. Okay, be careful. It needed to say x minus your h. So x minus your negative 2. So that can be cleaned up to really say x plus 2, because it's x minus negative 2. And then adding a negative is really just subtracting. Okay, on a test, if you gave me this equation, I'm okay with it. I wouldn't mark that wrong. It just looks weird when you have two symbols next to each other. Okay, from there, you would pick a point. You may have picked a different point than me, that's fine, but you should still end up with the same ending. I'm going to use 0, comma, negative 27. You may have picked a different point, that's okay. I'm going to put in x 0 and negative 27. Zero plus 2 is 2. 2 squared is 4. 4 times a is 4a. Add 7 to both sides. Divide by 4. And I get a is negative 5. And then I'm going to plug that back into this equation. So the final answer for vertex form will be y equals negative 5 times x plus 2 squared minus 7. So you need to FOIL first, x plus 2. X plus 2 times x plus 2. X squared plus 2x plus 2x plus 4 reduces or simplifies to be x squared plus 4x plus 4. Then you need to bring down your minus 5 and multiply that by everything. So then I get negative 5x squared minus 20x minus 20. And then the last step is to bring down that back number. And our final answer for standard form is y equals negative 5x squared minus 20x, and then you combine these like terms and get negative 27. Now example 4 gives us word problems with graphs. And it asks us to write the equation. Okay, the word problem. A house painter standing on a ladder drops a paintbrush which falls to the ground. The paintbrush's height above the ground in feet is given by the function, and then it's vertex form, where t is the time in seconds after the paintbrush is dropped. Okay, you don't need graph paper for this one, but we will just kind of sketch in the graph. The x-axis stands for time in seconds, and the y-axis stands for height in feet. That kind of looks like this. So just hand draw that in. It doesn't need to be perfect. Go ahead and put a dot right here on the y-axis at 0, 25. And then put another dot, we'll say maybe right here, and we'll make that 1, 9. That definitely is not to scale, but you get the hint. Okay, so we have a painter on top of the house. So at 0 seconds, he's holding onto that paintbrush. It's 25 feet above the house. The paintbrush drops. At 1 second, it's now 9 feet above the ground. And then at some point, it's going to hit the ground. So it's asking for the equation. So hopefully you can notice that this is half of a parabola. So if you imagine that parabola just continues this way, obviously we're not going to go into negative seconds. That wouldn't make sense. But you'll notice that the 0, 25, that is your vertex. So this is similar to the last question. We have the vertex and we have a point. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take the vertex. We're going to write it in vertex form. So vertex is located at h, k for vertex form. And vertex form is y equals a times x minus h squared plus k. For the h, and put in 25 for the k. And bring everything else down. And now we're going to use the other point for your x and your y. So 1, 9, 1 is going to be my x and 9 will be the y. So under that, go ahead underneath the x, put 1 in for the x and put 9 in for the y. And then bring everything else down, so we're going to solve it for a. Okay, look at the side that has the a. Let's simplify the work that's over there. Order of operations, and it's on the poster up here if you can't see, but when the lights are on it's easier to see. But the first thing is grouping symbols, so your parentheses. So first thing we do is 1 take away 0. 1 take away 0 is 1. Then the next step is to do exponents, so 1 squared. 1 times 1 is 1. A times 1, anything times 1 is itself. So I can actually just get rid of that 1. So it really says a plus 25. And then our last step, to get a by itself, we need to get rid of positive 25, so subtract 25. 9 take away 25 is negative 16. And so you go back, it's this equation that you're plugging your a into. So your equation is y equals or f of x equals or whatever the problem wants you to use. Plug in your a, And then the rest is x minus 0 squared plus 25. Or you can also simplify this, because x minus 0, anything minus 0 is itself. So you can also write it as y equals negative 16. X minus 0 is just x squared plus 25. I would take either of those. Okay, for example 4b. A rock is knocked off a cliff into the water far below. The falling rock's height above the water in feet is given by this function, where t is time in seconds after the rock begins to fall. So go ahead and do a sketch of this graph. This is time in seconds, and this is the height in feet. And the graph starts up here and kind of comes down like that. Up here at the y-axis, or the y-intercept is at 0, 40. And then we'll have a point, we'll say maybe about right here, that's at 1, 24. So what this means is, after 0 seconds, the rock is 40 feet in the air because it's on top of the cliff. And then it gets kicked off the cliff or knocked off the cliff, and now the rock is, at 1 second, it's 24 feet in the air. And then at some point it's going to land. So if you imagine this is half of the parabola, so the other half would be this way. So that vertex is right here at 0, 40. Label your vertex as h, k so that you can put it into vertex form. So plug in 0 for h and 40 for the k. And then this is the step where we plug in the other point. So the other point is x, y. So plug in 1 for x, and the y is 24. This is 1 take away 0 is 1. 1 squared, 1 times 1 is 1, and then 1 times a is just a. Okay, I just did all that whole step in my head, but does everyone see where I got it? 1 take away 0 is 1, and then 1 squared, 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times a is just a. Okay, so I just didn't write down all those steps. To get a by itself, subtract 40. (24 minus 40 is negative 16. And then write your equation. So you're going to use this with this a value in there. Y equals negative 16, x minus 0 squared plus 40. Or x minus 0 will cancel out the 0. Either of those I would take. Okay, now you're going to do one with your friends. Okay, number 7. It's a graph and it just asks you for the equation. So draw like a graph kind of like this. But this is 1, 1. And then this point over here will be 3, negative 3. Okay, go ahead and write the equation for this parabola. Okay, check your answer. A is negative 1. So you can write it like this, or sometimes they don't put the 1, so you'll just have the negative sign in front. Either way. How many people did get that one? Okay, that seems much better than the last question. Okay, last one we're doing. A roofer accidentally drops a nail which falls to the ground. The nail's height above the ground is given by this function after seconds after the nail drops. Write the equation for it. Okay, so here's the graph for number 8. Again, it's time in seconds and height in feet. Oops. 0,45 and 1,29. So at 0 seconds, that nail is 45 feet in the air. After 1 second, the nail is 29 feet in the air. Go ahead and write the equation for this. Equals negative 16 x minus 0 squared plus 45, or negative 16x squared plus 45. Bless you. Bless you. Okay, you only have 4 questions on your exit ticket, but you really need to use your notes. I had a lot of people in my last class that were getting stuck and they weren't sure what to do, and they were the questions that looked just like we did yesterday during our notes.